The new year is here, and with it comes that familiar surge of motivation, new goals, fresh starts, and of course, those resolutions. But what happens when that initial wave of excitement fades? Most people struggle with consistency. So here's the thing. Consistency drives confidence. And when we constantly show up for ourselves, we gain confidence with every step forward. Welcome back to the Unfiltered Fix, the podcast where we keep it real about confidence, wellness, and living your best life. So today I'm going to share 3 practical tips to help you start the new year strong, stay confident, and maintain consistency, not just through February, but all year long. Tip number 1 is to embrace progress over perfection. Let's start with a mindset shift. Perfect doesn't exist, and chasing perfection is quite literally the fastest way to burn out. The truth is, life isn't going to cooperate with our goals 100% of the time. This became so apparent to me when I became a mom for the first time. For those of you that have had kids and you have this amazing birth plan and you think everything is going to be so perfect, and then you're thrown a curveball and you're like, well, wait a second, that's not what I had planned. See, I'm a very type A person, and this threw me for a loop. My birth plan was so derailed that it literally sent me into a downward spiral. It took me about 3 days to get over and really grasp that I was going to have to move forward without the perfect picture of what I thought was going to be this amazing and beautiful thing. And when I was finally able to let go, it was absolutely perfect and beautiful in its own imperfection. Plans get interrupted, and that's okay. I want to encourage you this year, instead of aiming to be the perfect friend, partner, parent, or family member where you're always available, you're always worried about saying the right thing, I want you to really focus on showing up authentically and meaningfully. So here's one example that you can use with different relationships. Instead of stressing about sending everybody a heartfelt, perfectly worded message or being available for every single social event, choose to connect intentionally. Now, this is something that I also used to struggle with. When somebody would invite me somewhere, I wanted to go. It was almost that FOMO, right? Like, you don't want to miss out. You want everybody to know that you're the best of friends with them and you want to be there. You want to support them. But what I quickly found out was that showing up to all of these social activities and still trying to manage my job and still trying to be there for my family, I quickly got burned out. And I had to learn to prioritize things and that it was okay to say no. So instead of feeling like you have to show up and do all of the things, I want you to make it a point to be more intentional. Call one friend and have a 10-minute conversation where you're truly present, or schedule that coffee date where you can really listen and engage with them. This allows you to show up for that person, and your conversations are going to be more meaningful rather than just a quick text message where you're trying to reach the masses. And remember that it's not about doing everything and being everywhere. It's about making your time count, because those small intentional actions will nurture your relationships far greater than trying to spread yourself too thin. When you're trying to be everything for everybody, you are attempting to achieve something that is very unrealistic, this ideal of perfect. It doesn't exist. Confidence grows when we're intentional about how we spend our time and energy, not when we try to do it all. Something else that really helped me kind of get over this idea of perfect was to set micro goals. I don't know if you guys have ever heard about that or what these even look like, but set these micro goals for each day. It's easier to focus on something that's right in front of you than the long term. So maybe going into the new year, you're thinking that you want to focus on hydration and you're told to drink basically your body weight in water. Well, I don't know if you've ever attempted to do that, but it's really hard. And I, for one, was really bad about drinking water. So a couple of years ago, I made it a point to drink 40 ounces of water. Now, for you, those of you that drink a lot of water, and for me to say this now, it seems like 40 ounces is so easy, but it wasn't for me. I had to be very intentional about this. The idea of drinking as much water as I needed to be drinking when I wasn't drinking close to the amount of what I should have been was a little overwhelming. So I bought a bunch of these Stanley cups that were 40 ounces, and my goal became to just drink one of them, one per day. And that became a habit for me. Once that became a habit, I was able to then drink 2 of those a day, which is where I am now. So I probably should be drinking more water, but I'm up to 80 ounces and I celebrate that win. So a micro goal is not thinking about where you need to be. It's about starting small and celebrating that win, making it a habit, and then progressing from there. Another thing that comes to mind for the new year is people always think that they're going to have this 45-minute to an hour-long workout 4 to 5 days a week. Now that sounds amazing, but the reality is life sometimes gets in the way, or you get busy and you can't commit to that. When you don't show up for yourself and you don't commit, and you're not consistent, you're letting yourself down. So if the thought of working out that long, that consistently, and that many days per week seems a little overwhelming, that's okay. Start small with a micro goal. Maybe it's 2 to 3 days a week. And maybe instead of 45 to 60 minutes, your goal is 20 to 30 minutes. That seems pretty doable, right? So when life gets in the way and you get derailed and you don't have time for that 60-minute workout that you thought you were going to set yourself up for, don't just not do your workout. A small workout for 20 or 30 minutes is going to be far better than doing nothing at all. Celebrate those small wins because they build momentum and your confidence. I want you to remember that the people you're trying to impress or convince that you have it all together, they don't have it all together either. So why do we hold ourselves to a standard that nobody else is meeting? Think about it. Nobody's perfect. So you want them to see you in a certain way, and they may be doing something really well that you admire. And I love that. And maybe that's what you're striving for. But think of all the other areas in their life that are also not perfect. Nobody is. So don't hold yourself to that standard. Confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up for yourself in small, meaningful ways, even when life throws you a curveball, because it's inevitable and it will happen. Tip number 2, I want you to prioritize your non-negotiables. This means you're giving that thing, that focused area, your all, and it is a non-negotiable. You are setting this goal and you are sticking to it. But again, make sure you're being realistic about what those goals are. Consistency doesn't mean that you're doing everything. It means focusing on the things that matter most. This year, you're going to focus on non-negotiables and you're going to stick to them. So how do we identify what those non-negotiables are? Well, you have to ask yourself what habits or rituals make you feel the best. Which ones can you realistically stick to all year long? It comes with a little bit of self-awareness. Sometimes you have to look at what your history has been. Where have you struggled being consistent? And what can you do to make sure that you're sticking to these non-negotiables all year? Maybe you want to incorporate meal prepping for this coming year. I think that's a great goal to have. As somebody that works full-time, sometimes spending 6 hours in the kitchen on my Sunday to prepare all the meals for my family for the entire week is a little overwhelming. Realistically, I'm not going to be able to commit to that. But I'll tell you that being able to sit in the kitchen for maybe an hour on a Sunday and prep 2 meals for a week is realistic. That's a non-negotiable. That's a realistic goal that I can stick to for that week for the entire year. Maybe you've set a goal to read more this year. Well, I've also done this, and where I fell short was I wanted to read X number of books by the end of the year. That's setting a really big goal. For me, it's easier for me, again, to make those micro commitments to myself where I can commit to reading 2 chapters a day. That's realistic for me. Your goal may look a little bit different. Everybody's goals are going to be different, and the amount of commitment that they can make for the entire year is going to be different. So don't set yourself up for failure and think that you have to come up with this crazy number that you're going to reach by the end of the year. Set something realistic that you can achieve every day, no matter what life throws your way. And here's a big one that really should be a non-negotiable. Prioritize your self-care and love over everything else, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And I know that sounds really cliche, but it is so true. If you're not taking care of yourself, yourself, you're not going to have the energy to show up for others or even your own goals. Again, when you take care of yourself first, you're not being selfish. You're setting yourself up to succeed and give your best to the people around you all the time. And tip number 3, learn to pivot with confidence. Some of the most confident people that I've had the honor and privilege to be around pivot because life happens. Schedules get disrupted, plans fall apart, and unexpected challenges do arise. They will. It's inevitable. Maybe you got laid off from work or you had a huge loss in the family. I've experienced this too. But confident people don't quit when things don't go perfectly. They pivot. So if your day doesn't go as planned, ask yourself, what's one thing that I can still do today to honor my goals? Sometimes that's easier said than done. And most of us have been in this position before, but you don't quit. You have to continue moving forward. And if you have an off day, don't dwell on it. Just refocus and move forward. We have to learn to give ourselves a little more grace. We give others more grace than we give ourselves, and that's not okay. We have to give ourselves that same grace that we give other people. Confidence isn't about never falling off track. It's about trusting yourself to adjust and keep going. Each time that you pivot, instead of giving up, you're reinforcing your ability to handle whatever life throws at you. This is called resilience. This is something that we need to work on. It's not something that we're just born with. It is a practiced effort every single day. Consistency is built on your ability to adapt, not your ability to stick to the plan perfectly. So to recap, remember, embrace progress over perfection, set your non-negotiables, and learn to pivot. Starting the new year with confidence and consistency isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up for yourself, focusing on what matters most, and learning to pivot when life happens. If you're feeling like you need a little extra support to recharge, to refocus, and start the new year off right, I highly recommend checking out Zen Regen. It honestly is one of my very favorite places to reset. My husband's actually been going there every couple of weeks, and he loves it almost as much as I do. So whether you're looking to feel more confident in your overall health, your appearance, athletic recovery or performance, or even in the bedroom, Zen has it all for men and for women. They also do virtual consultations. So if you're not quite ready to visit in person, that's okay. Remember, the first step is simply just to start. If you're interested in checking them out, I've included the booking link in the show notes. Trust me, it'll be a game changer for your life and for your confidence. If this episode resonated with you and you have a friend who might need a little inspiration to kick off the new year, feel free to share this with them. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Unfiltered Fix. You can find me on Apple Podcast and Spotify, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And here's my last little pep talk for you. Start now, start next month, or whenever it feels right for you, but just start because you are worth it. So set new limits for yourself, stay confident, and I'll catch you next week.